New is good and old is, number 80. Welcome back. Today, we'll be looking at the Gospel of Matthew to see how Jesus emphasizes that new and old can be good. So let's dive in. Matthew 13 verses 51 to 53. Have you understood all these things? Yes, they answered. Then he told them, for this reason, every scribe who has been discipled in the kingdom of heaven is like a homeowner who brings out of his storeroom new treasures as well as old. When Jesus had finished these parables, he withdrew from that place. My thoughts. Sometimes we pit the new against the old and vice versa. But Jesus didn't do that here. It wasn't the age of the matter that made it right or wrong. It was truth. Jesus is principle-based. Principles are very driven by truth. They are timeless. Both govern our actions. Truth has to do more with realities, where principles have to do with the application of truth based on these realities. In modern philosophy, we have made truth so subjective, our principles have become shaky as well. But if we were to read the Bible and did what the Pharisees did and equated only the old with good without considering truth and principle, we would be in just as much trouble with God as they were. Truth and principle have got to be our plumb line for both the old and the new. The scribe was a very smart and often wise elder who taught the people based on the scriptures. The Bible was their ultimate base for authority on truth and principle. A scribe that enters the kingdom of heaven is one who embraces the truths and principles of both the Old and New Testaments. And these truths and principles, according to Jesus, are pure gold. So how does this apply to us as disciple makers? We are to be scribe-like. We are to teach the disciples of Jesus both the old ways and the new ways of following Jesus based on the fundamental truths and principles of the Bible. We should be knee-deep in the book ourselves and instructing others to do the same. And it is not just about gaining and passing on knowledge. It's just as important that we are actually applying what we learn. My story. Right now our church is going through a set of biblical conviction studies on the basics of the faith. Our first step is to find 5 verses from Jesus, the Gospels, on the topic. Then we find 5 more passages from the rest of the Bible. We then ask 2 questions. Why is mastering this particular topic so important? What do the scriptures say about how to practice this topic? During our gathering we discuss our findings. The homework for the next meeting is to look at these verses and ask 2 more questions. What are the principles and truths we find in these passages? How will we practice, method, the principles and truths we discovered? This exercise of studying the Bible as a church does several things. We learn the principles and truths in the Word of God. We actually apply what we are learning. We discover the principles and truths are universal and timeless. We practice various methods to live out the principles and truths. We never to put the methods before the principles and truths. Mark 7 verses 1 to 13. Here's an example of my last conviction study on the Word of God. Our action plan. Now we'll look at some ideas on how to help us as disciple makers help others find principles and truths and distinguish between them and methods or forms. Study Mark 7 verses 1 to 13 and identify why Jesus was so upset with the religious leaders. Do a Bible study on a topic and identify principles, truths, and methods. Make a list of your tools and traditions and identify the principles and truths behind them. Ask this question: are we married to the method or to the principle? As disciple makers, we need to encourage believers to actively study the Bible while discerning timeless principles from contextual methods. By emphasizing both understanding and application, it fosters a deeper, more practical way to live out our faith, and we can adapt to different cultural contexts while remaining faithful to core biblical truths.